Hey guys, Spade and Carvey here. Coming up next, Drew Barrymore. You guys, it's Spade and Carvey here at the old Fly on the Wall dungeon doing an intro for Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. It gets oppressive in here, but once in a while,
garbagey
they
basement.
let us out.
But, Z Gallery, thanks. You like the furnishings? So I was going to tell you, we have Drew coming up right now. And here's a story that I didn't tell you before.
Are we on camera right now?
Yeah, and I don't think
sorry.
We always are.
Oh, let me go.
It's a Truman Show.
Hey, how you doing? What's up, camera? I'm scared to ask her, but that movie Lost and Found, I did. Oh, a couple people see it. A couple people remember. Oh, okay. So Lost and Found was this movie. It was all right, but I did it. And we were looking for the lead, and so the guys that did the money said, if you know Drew Barrymore, she'd be perfect. I said, oh, she'd be great. Mm-hmm. But it was sort of in this time in her career when she might have done it. She might have done it. And everyone loves Drew Barrymore. So I said, oh, we'd be so perfect. It'd be great. So they said, if you can get it to her, we can pay her price. And she had a quote. I won't tell you what it was, but it wasn't crazy. It was good, you know. It was more than I got. Mm-hmm. But I said, oh, if we can get her. So I got to her through her agent. She said, okay, let's have dinner. She read it. And then about a week later, she said she'd do it. Anyway, we blew it. We couldn't get her the money. The guy couldn't get her the money. So it was a big scam, and I felt bad. And then, and I think she went and did Wedding Singer, which was obviously a way better movie, but whatever. Anyway, but I think, Dana, that during this, there was a time when we were talking, and I think we kissed. Is this crazy? And I might be lying, but that's why I don't want to ask her, because what if it's not true? But in my head, I think we did, and it was no big deal. It was just like funny or stupid, but no big romance. But I think we kissed, and I have to check my diary, but she has to check hers. Really?
And you should check yours too, just in case.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Sorry, I just turned to our friend Rob Schneider.
Wow. And Rowan Wilson. Wow.
That's interesting. You're not sure you kissed
I don't know.
I think that's maybe a little bit of a diss. Wouldn't it be like memorable?
No, because when she had that movie, Never Been Kissed, I go, oh, I don't think so.
Oh.
But I was like, I don't know if I'm going to ask her.
We did go out once. We had dinner once. And
you and Drew?
Yeah.
Are you going to skunk my story?
And I said, how much you been dating lately? And she goes, this is my 52nd date. Reference to the movie.
She goes,
long way to go.
Some gross guy tried to kiss me once. I forgot his name. I think you're friends with him. Spade?
No, I feel paternal toward her. She's been a part of America since E.T. She's, and she's about as cute as a kid could ever be. And she was so great in that movie. And now she's still here. I think the thing I take away from Drew is just the positivity is real, and it's how you get things done in the world is by just never letting the flag touch the ground. She's just a force of nature.
Yeah, she can do it all. She's a producer, she's a writer, she's a performer, obviously. She really helps women in the industry. She does it all, and got a great talk show out right now. So let's hear from her.
Let's hear from her. This is.
I remember when I met her, she said, "You remind me of a kind of a grosser version of E.T." And I go, "Oh, I didn't even see the movie, so I don't know what that meant." But I go, "Oh, he's a star."
I know. Well, after our 52nd date, I just tried to be pithy.
Are you trying to do 51st dates?
What? What's 51st dates? Is that a movie she was in? I don't know. After our 52nd date, I just, as a joke, I got up and because this is before cell phones, I go, I have to, Dana, call home. Sorry. I was trying to do E.T., but Johnny Carson came out.
I know.
Oh!
God, let's just go to the show.
E.T., phone home. Let's phone home. No, Johnny would say, sorry, Drew, it's our 52nd date, and I've got to call home.
Whatever. David, I'm glad my IQ has lowered since the podcast started.
Everyone.
I'm really
we just
confused.
did a test, and everyone has heard the podcast is stupid.
And I can't think.
Stupider.
But everyone loves Drew. I'll put it that way.
All right, here's Drew. I like this part of the podcast where we don't know what's going on.
Bill Hader has kind of his voice has a treble softness to it, but then when he did Daniel Day-Lewis, it just went incredibly deep. So his range is like really kind of interesting because his talking voice is very sort of soft, up here.
and we had a great time. And then he's like, but I told you.
I like that I try to do Daniel Day-Lewis and you guys both do it, and I forgot.
I used to do it like crazy. His was so great. I feel like at some point we'll just tell. I was going to say, that if they said you were the best ever, I wouldn't slug them in the face. But there's 50 people that could be mentioned. It's just people love to have lists.
Yeah.
I don't want Maya Rudolph to go, what's going on?
But he's definitely up there.
Well, he just, it's kind of like Will Forte. That middle knots, that early to 2010 or 12, whatever.
Knots
had a lot.
Knots is the grossest.
I know. Had a lot of talent. That's why I listed all of them, and I forgot Maya Rudolph. There's a lot of talent.
Where's that lady?
Oh my God, you guys, I've been here the whole time screaming. It was on fucking mute.
Oh.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I was like, I guess they're going and riffing. I'll just sit here.
You thought we were ignoring you the
were
whole
a
time.
fly on the wall.
I was listening in. You were talking about Maya Rudolph and the knots or the aughts or whatever we're calling them. And I literally was like, I guess when they're ready, they'll invite me in. But these are like the high class problems of our current world. You're on mute. I can't, your screen is off. This is the new verbiage for us. But I actually have been sitting here waiting to jump into the double Dutch. Literally, I'm so excited that you guys would have me on your show. Are you crazy? I love both of you so much. I'm double Dutching with you right now, and I'm loving.
My wife said, Drew's so sweet. She's so fun, has so much energy. And I go, you think? I don't know. I'll tell you what happens. But already you're exactly what she promised.
She's so kind. She's definitely right about the energy part. I'm like a Labrador in heat.
I like the heat.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard people say that. Yeah.
I am. But like with, yeah.
Well, that was my. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm a
Labrador in heat. When I'm happy, when I'm intense, I think I'm a whole other metaphor. But when I'm happy, I'm like a Labrador in heat, panting, probably trying to grab your leg.
Interesting.
Huh. Well, I read some things about you last night, and it was truly impressive and exhausting how much you packed in. So
I mean, my God,
Labrador and heat. I'm going, and how young you are from where I'm perched. It's like, damn, where does that come from? Where's the motor to do all this and then become a producer and now this, and I don't know. I can't even. Maybe a hard question to ask. More of an Oprah question or Larry King.
I love it. I'm like, I did not expect the how do you do it question that's traditionally a woman to woman.
Oh, well, yes. And a working mom. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that you guys are asking it because.
Yeah. We're real thinkers, Drew.
Well, we love women. Basically, I
love funny men. So this is a match made in heaven.
A win-win.
I do it by burning the candle at both ends. I actually am here editing our next issue of a magazine that we're making.
Of course,
and I think about. It's weird. A lot of people will ask that question, and I think I've been so passive about my answer because my humility wants to go, no, I don't do that much. Let me turn it back to you.
Yes.
Lately I've been for this magazine and trying to think of some content for it. I've been looking at the how and the we, not the how and the I, but I think that it's really messy. And I was brought up we all lived in that world where we would see those articles where people were like, 8 a.m., I drink my coffee and I do this. Okay.
Mark Wahlberg.
2 a.m.
Like 10:30, I do this, and I never lived that life. And it seemed so type A and unattainable. And I was more you never know where the day is going to take you, whimsical, or I will burn myself to a crisp and then I'll find that pocket of rest and wellness somewhere else.
Wow.
So I don't know how anyone does it. And if they do it in an organized fashion, they have my deepest respect. And if they feel like it all feels like putting out fires and kind of burning yourself out, and it's all like a higgledy-piggledy mess, and it's super comedic, and there are chickens running through the frame, and like rando funny shit is going on, that feels so true to my experience. And I would never preach to anyone that I have it together or that I'm a blueprint. I am just a work in progress. And so far I'm shocked in some ways that like I am a relatively healthy person, because I feel like I don't live a very healthy lifestyle.
Geez, and that's been Drew Barrymore today. We appreciate it.
No, listen.
That's amazing. Go ahead. I have a question.
No one argues that she's busy. Her IMDb looks like a CVS receipt. And if you could see her Zoom, it looks like house and garden. Me and Dana look like we're in a bunker in Kabul.
Yeah,
her place looks gorgeous. It looks
she looks fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, fresh as a daisy, gorgeous, and
only because I have hair and makeup because I'm at the show. And by the way, on my headstone will for sure say death by inspo, because I'll have inspired myself into the grave. Like, I can't even look at a woman's shoe without going, do you mind if I take a quick picture of that? Because that color tone would just be so great for the packaging on the next thing I'm making. Like, I can't stop. And sometimes I feel like I wish I could just like have like quick temporary, I think that's probably why I drank so much back in, most of my life.
What do you mean? You had a problem?
Just to shut it down. I was like, just shut up. And
dude, at 7, you were like, I can't take it anymore.
Dude, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. Dude. At 7, I was paying the rent, and that's a lot of stress.
A fairly uncommon thing for a human being in America to be paying the rent at 7.
Drew, I can relate. Dana, I didn't tell you this. I was a child star too. When I was, my dad was in advertising. He was like a Mad Men type of guy. And when I was 5, I was pretty cute. I had a good run from 5 to 8. So when I was 5,
really,
and my
I never heard this.
My dad goes, why don't you be in this like Taco Bell commercial that we're filming, because they were part of it? And he goes, they need some kids. We'll throw you in. We'll give you $10. And I was like, holy shit. So they put 10 $1 bills out for me on my desk. I probably got 1,000, but they kept it, and they go, here's your 10. And then they took 9 of it. And I go, so you already took a cut, I'm sure, before I saw it. Then I get 10, and then you go, we'll hold it. And I go, wait, what's going on? And then I had $1 left. I'm like, they go nuts.
You guys.
Drew's like, I hear that.
I didn't put down my waiter's apron till 23 and a half. You guys start right out of kindergarten. Like, what a head start. Can I ask you a question, Drew? Because you kind of talked about like Reese Witherspoon. Okay, she's another, like, how does she do all that? And I heard her kind of own it, like in the way men can sort of own it. Like, okay, I get out of my way, I can do anything, basically. Is it difficult for you to have that gear? Because people would say, I'm nice. They say, you're nice. But, where do you have that part of you that has a ego? Like, can kind of give yourself a pat on the back? I don't. So that's why you just keep going.
Yeah, and I hate those. And I know Reese. So I she's just incredible. She is a good, like, hot question mark of how the hell does she do it? I feel like I had so much opportunity because of starting as a kid that the gender effect never had me. It never had my attention. It was squandered early because I started working as a baby and kept working. So I never had the anything other than I could do all these things, and they're my opportunities to screw up or make something of. And there were men and women giving me those opportunities. I just wrote the foreword to the new ET book because it's the 40th anniversary. And I was talking about Kathleen Kennedy and Melissa Matheson. You know, I saw women at work. So I just really didn't have that. I need to be aggressive or act like a man to get anything done. I always felt permission to check in with my idols, the Go-Go's and Pippi Longstocking, who were all girl all the time, but they did everything that boys did. And it became my ethos on making Charlie's Angels was, why do women have to pretend to be men in order to look strong and capable? Because the truth is, in my world, if I was kicking butt with my girlfriends, we would totally be talking about last night's date while taking the bad guy down. And bad guy could be, again, bad guy or bad girl. I've never been affected. Luckily, I've not had the unfortunate ingenue treatment of being held back, or as I started a production company at 19, and it was really in the era of the power suit woman, I was like intimidated by that and just felt like, screw it. I'm going to be a girl with my corduroys and my JanSport backpacks, and the work is going to speak for me. And no man has ever kept me down. They've only helped give me opportunities, as women have. And I'm a girl. And I think the one thing that's always stuck out for me about men, first and foremost, was that like a lot of my comedy influence when I was young came from men. There weren't a ton of female comedians. Yeah. There's so many more now. I feel like the playing field is so much more equal. So I identified men a lot with funny, and that was a good thing. I didn't think of men as my bosses or anyone who was going to hold me back, or I had to be like them. I've had fortunate liberation my entire life like that. And I hate boss bitch. I hate it. Boss lady. Boss bitch. It sounds like you're hanging a pair of balls on you with a bitterness. And I don't like that because I don't have one bitter bone in my body. However, if people have to put, metaphorical balls on, or a cape, or do any mechanism to empower themselves, that I stand back and do not judge, because everybody has their process of how they get to bravery.
She has the best answers.
I know.
Anyone,
oh my God.
They're unreal.
Oh, David Spade, I love you so much.
I mean, my God. We have to talk about SNL stuff. By the way, back to E.T. To have two women that high up in the chain must have been nice back then, and they must have had an even keel about them, because you look up to them and you don't see them. I mean, they're as equal up there with everybody that are running a huge, huge movie. That's good. That's a good influence early on.
And Steven Spielberg was flanked by these two women. Frank Marshall was there, but Kathleen Kennedy and Melissa Matheson. And so
Melissa wrote it, just for our viewers.
Melissa wrote it. She was married to Harrison Ford at the time. They were very close. They had the script for years. They were making the Indiana Jones movies. They were all a tight-knit group. And she had this script. It was called A Boy's Life. And that's
what E.T. was called?
Yeah, it wasn't called E.T. until after the film was made. I guess maybe in marketing. I'd have to ask
It was called Little Gross Monster for a little bit, I
heard. Cute little alien.
Okay, go ahead. So, Dana, ask her a question about SNL. What are you doing?
I know. I'm a little starstruck.
I'm starstruck too.
I'm fascinated by your life. I think it's so cool.
I'm starstruck by you guys. I mean, literally, you're about to bring up SNL, and I don't know where your question's going to go, but boy, did that show change my life in so many ways. But in no way did I participate the way that you guys have.
for people who don't know it,
Yeah.
you've hosted 6 times, which is
I
a
have.
record for
Yep,
That's
I'm
a lot.
tied. I'm tied right now. I think
tied with Candace Bergen, or no?
Nope, she's 5. I
Loser.
think I'm tied with ScarJo, who
Oh, really?
pretty sure is going to beat me because
She's great on. Oh yeah,
Well,
she's
she's
got an
married to Colin,
married
so
to- yeah.
she's got a
And-
fast track. We're going to book her for 3 a year.
Oh,
Yeah, and she makes, big movies that are gonna, I'm sure she's gonna beat me, and I love her so much, and we just did the show together. And if anyone's gonna beat it, but here's a record I do hold that I think it will be bittersweet when it happens. I am still the youngest
Yes.
host in 1982 at 7 years old.
Yes.
And that one's gonna hurt.
That's
one's
going to be
hard.
a tough one.
like that's in really no danger. I don't know unless.
I wonder how has it not been taken? How the hell has that not happened?
Well, because it's child abuse. Hey kid, I can't even handle it. I was crying when I hosted and I'd done 200 shows.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like you go back there and you're like, wait, what do I do? And the band's playing. It's terrifying.
I'm 47 and I can't even. But was the monkey a surprise?
Yes, the
What's
total
that?
surprise.
It was a non
Tim
sequitur for David. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Tim Kazurinsky, who I had just an adorable crush on.
Love
I just
him,
thought he was
yeah.
the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want me to have to deal with an opening monologue. And they sort of addressed that in the monologue. And they say, instead, we're going to do a Q&A with Tim and Drew. Weird to say your name. And so he asked me questions on little index cards, and
Adorable.
And then at the end, he says, "We have a surprise for you." And they bring out this monkey.
Chimpanzee, yeah.
I don't know what the point of it was, other than to
your
be
reaction.
the cutest thing and the most delightful surprise for anyone, let alone a 7-year-old girl. I remember so many different emotions. Steven Spielberg came, and he's very much probably the only father figure I've really had in my life. And he was very parental. And on the show night, he brought Robin Williams, which scared me to death because I was so obsessed with Robin Williams. And that felt very intimidating to me. And
who's blabbing?
Yeah, somebody's auditioning back there.
Sorry.
Tell them you don't want to get Spade mad. They're all like,
exactly.
Robin Williams.
So Robin Williams, and it was such a weird mixed bag because I was in the opening scene, which I didn't realize until way later how hard it is to get in the scene before the credits. Like I spent my young adulthood fighting to get in that opening scene. The cold open. And I was in it, and they all circle around me, and I'm sad about something, and they are rallying me up. And then they said, would you like a glass of milk? And I remember my line was, milk? I'm a Barrymore. I want to drink and make it a double. And
7 years old.
7.
Boy, little did I know how true that would end up
You were
becoming.
like, all kidding aside, make it a double.
Was there a family history of that at all? Or
oh my
no, I'm kidding.
God. I mean, literally, they all died of consumption. My grandfather died of consumption. I think Ethel and Lionel were a bit more put together, but yeah, total hedonists and artists, and a long line of alcoholism so
it's highly genetic, obviously.
It is highly genetic, but I'm going to be the one who breaks that in our chain.
Break it.
Yeah.
I haven't had a drink in almost 3 years, and it's a really good feeling.
Well, what's your happy place? How do you calm down then? Do you meditate? Do you take a bath? Do you run around the block? How do you calm that thinking brain without alcohol? Prayer.
Yeah, and I'm not sober. I don't work a program. It's just I realized my relationship with alcohol was the most toxic one in my life, and one I'd been trying to master since I was 9 years old and did start drinking. And that, I had to find a way, I had to find a different way to live. And I can sort of trace every negative thing back in my life. And there's probably alcohol dancing in there somewhere. And it's like the best breakup I've ever had in my life. And it's so confident and quiet. And I have a bar in my house. I serve people drinks. I have no hangups about it. I'm just like so psyched at this choice to finally cut this like cancer out of my life. It's something, excuse me.
Well, you feel better too. I mean, there's a lot of positives. If you can get through it, it's a lot of positive upside.
And so how did you manage all these movies and this massive career while imbibing? Was it sort of binge drinking, or would you, how did you manage
people look the other way?
I think, when you do burn the candle at both ends and you are prolific, that's part of the fooling yourself. Like, but I'm doing all this work, so I'm functioning.
Yeah.
And that was definitely my justification. But I was more of like, when I partied, I was the crazy one. Like I can think of another SNL alum, Chris Kattan, whose nickname and I for each other is Rooftops, because we would get wasted and jump off my roof into the pool. And I had a lot of fun with it. And it wasn't all bad. And then I think when kids came into my life, I realized that this was no longer sustainable, and I made a hard choice, and it's the best one I've ever made. When it was just me and my life, I guess I didn't matter to myself enough to find the balance. My kids mattered more to me than I did. And I found the balance, and it didn't come easy, and it wasn't pretty. And we all wish we had done things sooner, but I'm here, and I'm so happy to be here. And that in itself, I think, has replaced a ton of meditation and jogging and new agey stuff and self-help and self-care. Just being a person who isn't corroded with guilt and dysfunction and blame. Like, I had a bad girl narrative growing up. So every time I did something wrong, I went straight back to, well, you're a bad girl. So what the fuck else do you think? It's you. You're the bad girl.
And if it's kind of your thing, like she's the drinker and the fun party girl, then you're like, it's already sort of factored in. So no one's going to get mad. That's kind of what they want.
100%. I'm the good time girl. And I did have a good time. I wasn't willing to give it up for a long time. I was balancing it in a way where I was working my ass off. I work hard, I played hard, and that was okay for 30 years. And then I think growing up isn't overrated. I'm totally into it. I really, I feel so lucky to have arrived at a more peaceful, saner place. I'm 47, and I don't know if I just only know my own journey. I started so much younger than other people in many ways, but I think a lot of my wisdom came later. And that's okay. Yeah. I don't even ask people what their age is, because I don't give a shit. I don't think it's going to tell me everything about you. Yeah. You're going to tell me. If I have to ask people what their age is, I'll literally say, what's your number? Because it's not indicative of your journey. There are people who have clawed their way through life at such a young age and been dealt such strange cards. And there are people who just can't seem to mature no matter how hard everyone around them is trying.
David?
They won't.
Did you say David? No.
That was a joke. Look at him in his mansion. He's very successful. But
Listen, I was when I was 9 years old, my mom would say, "You're not drinking till you're 9, like Drew Barrymore." And I go, right. That's weird. We had a tough rule. No, I've got my shit together, Drew. No, I don't.
Do you?
But Drew, no.
No, we're comedians.
This is about you.
We're damaged little clowns.
We're little clowns.
It was an interesting lesson growing up, being such a lover of male comedians. So many wake-up calls on who used the sort of torture as an excuse to, behave a certain way or be kind of an intense person, or,
You're talking to me or Dana?
And those who didn't, and I would definitely gravitate towards the ones who didn't. But and my mom, by the way, when I was a kid, not only did I get to do SNL at 7 years old, but my mom worked as a waitress in the Comedy Store. So I now have a character that I do for the digital on our show named Mitzi Banana Moore. And it's all dedicated to Mitzi Shore, really. And she's the inspiration for it. And I get to ask questions that I can't get away with on daytime television. And I got a wig and a look and a whole thing. And
great.
Sounds so funny coming out of you.
Do you have a lot of Mitzi stories? Because we have stories about Mitzi,
Pauly Shore was my babysitter.
Wow.
Yes.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Was everything okay?
I think so. Him and Donovan Leitch used to look after me sometimes. Our parents didn't. I mean, my mom is an extreme case, and but a lot of people were in that time. We did not parent back then the way we do now. And it's crazy, the scrutiny and the helicopter parenting and the guilt and the books and the rights and the wrongs and the do's and the don'ts. Yeah, my mom just left me with Pauly and Donovan while she and Mitzi were off at work. It was fun. I loved it. And my mom gave me such a rich history on who each and every comedian was. And what their body of work was, and what Steve Martin meant, and what Robin Williams meant, and who these people that came and did a set that night, or here's the person up and coming. It's very in my DNA. And so for me, getting on this podcast with you guys, I'm the one freaking out. I don't know what so much of my life would be without the things that you both have put into the world. And comedy is a very healing thing. I call it medicine always. And I've been trained like a little seal to appreciate and understand the power of when someone makes you laugh, they take away your pain and stress. They give you a respite from your trauma and your damage and your worries and the things you got to do and the things that have affected you. You are liberated and free in that moment because your chemistry changes.
You can't laugh and worry at the same time.
I mean, and by the way, the more you're worried, I hope the more you are laughing, because it's the only way you're going to survive it.
Well, this leads me to a question, because you're giving a background on what comedy meant to you and learning this in real time with you. What does it mean to have hosted SNL for you? Because then you go into America's comedy palace, basically, and you host it 6 times. I mean, what does that mean to you? And how thrilling was it for you to then be part of it after the age of 7, and then you're an adult, mature, funny person on that show? Why does it? What is it? What is it? I don't know. You have 6 minutes to answer that question.
I really feel like that show is an institution, and it's a living, breathing tree. It's a giving tree that new leaves come out of its branches, and these leaves are these people, these artists.
Such good answers so far.
Yeah,
and
that was so poetically. You speak like a poet, Drew.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Have you written a book of poems? You have, haven't you?
I do write poetry. I love poetry. I read a lot of poetry growing up. And we get to bask in the shade and the light of that tree. And it's like, it formed me so much as a human being. And I'm happy to say whether it's successful or not, I don't know. I'm not objective about myself. I never want to be. But when I was lucky enough to get the show that I'm doing now, which is a talk show, it has my name on it. I actually asked for it to be named something else. They said, that's not how this works. I said, fine.
We'll go with the household name.
You have a great name.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
One syllable and then 3 syllables. It goes Drew Barrymore. It's just a cool name.
Thank you, Dana Carvey. Which actually
Dana
ends in a smile. That ends in a smile. I think
I never thought of that.
It's true. I leaned in so hard to my SNL training for this show. And a couple examples are that when we launched in a pandemic in 2020, it was a very scary time to find a voice. I felt like it was in order to be quiet and be a good listener and be a student and learn. And so that was really intimidating. But I tried to tap into bravery to be funny and have a show that really celebrated comedians and go hard on comedy. It was
go hard. I love it.
It was scary, and I think it confused a lot of people. And especially in that moment, like, what the hell is this?
The pandemic, here she comes again. Yep.
And the Drew's News segment of the show, from which I fought for since the pilot, I kept trying to explain it to everybody. And obviously, there is this section of a magazine called The Week that's called It Wasn't All Bad. And it's just these tiny baby-sized paragraphs that are so funny and uplifting and weird. And then Weekend Update. And then, I just kept saying, Weekend Update to me is a drug. I'm on that feeder. I watch it every week. I don't miss it. I love finding out information in a funny way. You could call it satire. You could call it pop culture. You could call it comedy. But like that news desk, I had a picture of Walter Cronkite, the Weekend Update desk, and like the Week magazine. And I think everyone was really scared because they were like, well, that's very written. And I was like, no, I know. I'm not going to write it. We're going to report stories that give people hope, because there is good news out there, and there are life-affirming things, and there are weird happenings and interesting findings. And we're going to be an aggregator for that. And then we can do commentary on it. I think Chelsea Lately, honestly, was a really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
She did a format where they really commented more on like gossip and pop culture, but it was so much fun, and no one had done that. Show. Yeah. And she had a panel of comedians, and it was delicious, and nobody had done that.
And Drew, during the pandemic, it's even harder because it's an uphill battle. Everything in the news is bad. It was so pessimistic and so rough that you're fighting through that clutter. And if anyone would just turn to the channel and see you, they're like, give me a breather here for a second.
I didn't know if I would ever be one, but I knew that I wanted, and I thought, I want to be a bright spot and not a blind spot. I want you to come here and not think that I don't understand what's happening all around us, but there is beautiful things. There are wonderful people. There is that good. And if we have to be reminded in life-affirming ways that this battle is worth it, great. Then that's what I want to do. And how do I take us out while not seeming like I've lost the plot, or I'm not in and aware and civic duty minded of everything that is really happening in reality? And it was the weirdest seesaw ever to balance. But I would say that Saturday Night Live has been my biggest influence in my life.
Jesus.
And now that I got to do a show that's not a movie or not a script or not a rom-com that probably involves a lot of people from the SNL alum, you can see that love and that honoring and that adhesive sort of admiration I have for male comedians, because I've spent so much time,
how about Sandler and Fallon? And you did movies with both those guys? Like, how crazy.
And I have to say,
I got to be in Wayne's World as Bjergen Kiergan for a
Bjergen
beat.
Kiergan. Can we hear a little bit of Bjergen Kiergan from Wayne's World too? Drew Barrymore.
By the way, really feel like that was I was worried, like anyone was going to be mad at me. Like I made a real joke out of the accent because I didn't really study enough for it. And
it didn't matter.
I sort of went for the broad comedy and I was like, did I offend people with that? Oh God.
People's got to stop being offended. But it was, I'm vegan Kirken. All I do is Greta Thunberg. I don't know what country she's from. How dare you? How dare you? That's it. It's just 3 words.
What is it like to be able to have that? Like Jimmy Fallon came on the show the other day and he's married to my partner. They fell in love on Fever Pitch. So he's like, we're family.
Nice.
But we did one episode together here on this show where we were like, let's try impressions. And like, I suck at impressions. Like, what's it like to have that kind of access in the snap of a finger and be able to do any voice? Like I have to study and like take it so seriously that I almost lose the freedom and the whimsy. I got to learn it so well that then I can play because I've got it so fucking down that now I feel liberated and free because I've held onto it so tightly. What's it like to just be like, here, play, fingertips, access?
Well, I don't know exactly what you're saying, but I think I've got a bloody idea about something you're trying to
Michael Caine, everyone.
Michael Caine. If I have to say it, I didn't know I'd...
Listen,
you're tremendous. Everyone says, excuse me, many people,
Trump.
Drew Barrymore, your show's terrific. It's terrific. Many people are saying, gas is going. I have a new rhythm for him. I'll do it for Drew. When he's on the podium to his audience, he goes, gas prices are going up. $6, $7, $10. How high can you go?
That's the final rhythm.
How high can you go?
Yeah.
It's all inflection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just have fun with it. I'm in awe of like there's certain people do certain impressions and I just love it and I'm in awe of it. And Jimmy Fallon, his Neil
Jimmy's
Young,
great.
is like insane.
Oh, his Neil Young is so good.
He has so much talent. I've talked to people there, like he's with Justin Timberlake and they're choreographing something and they go, Jimmy, just one time, he's got it. And then he can sing and he dances and he does all these voices. And he's such a great talk show host because he's such a great audience.
I think we're all so influenced by that Renaissance variety human that can pull out of the ether or have a premeditated approach to it or access to both.
Well, what's one that you learned? You talked about learning one and really owning it.
Yeah, do you have a good one? Load it up.
Do you do Chloe Fineman?
Sorry, I had to burp.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
That's my favorite thing.
Who is that? Oscar?
We've done dozens of these. That's my favorite moment. Thank you, Drew. Because the most real moment.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Now you're definitely the coolest.
Oh, good.
All right, that one's getting to my house now. It's just getting to me. Oof.
Let's see. What have I eaten today?
Chili dog, I can tell you.
No, just only quinoa, like a quinoa porridge. It's pretty boring. Oh shit! What was the question?
Well, let's make fun of Sandler for the end.
Oh, well, we have a lot of Sandler questions at the end.
We got a Sandler questions. So we like to clown on him.
I mean, God, I love him so much.
You got some monster movies with him.
Adam's made a lot of great movies, but I think 51 Dates is like one of his very, very best because it was such a complete film and it was so emotional at the end. Didn't you find that to be an extra special one you did with him? 51 Dates? You've done 3.
51st Dates.
51st Dates.
Or 51. It was originally another title change. It was called 51st Kisses. And I think they thought that was too girly. Yeah. In the marketing.
Dates.
Dates is more gender neutral. Now, this actually became a really big study for me about men and women. This is where I really did take on gender. So Nan, my partner, had found that script and it was a drama that took place in Seattle. And funny enough, she like wanted Reese Witherspoon to do it.
No.
She was like,
Your own
she was
partner.
like, you're busy. I believe in Reese Witherspoon. She was a total fan. We've all been fans of hers forever. I've known Reese since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And so she had me read it at a table reading, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best script ever. And we wanted to get attached to it as producers at Flower Films, and it disappeared overnight. Like someone gobbled it up, and then her and I tracked it for the next, years, several years. It went through different big directors and big actresses. We just, Nan and I were like determined to track where this script went. And all of a sudden, it finally matriculates over to none other than Happy Madison.
Happy Madison.
And that is, to anyone who doesn't know, is Adam Sandler's company. He's always done it with the same people. He always will. He's such a loyalist. And it was everybody I knew from The Wedding Singer. And
another great one. Yeah. I love that movie.
Oh, another monster.
Well, I stalked him. I was like, I know that you and I are supposed to be Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, except for probably through more of like a Marty Feldman, Buddy Hackett lens.
Buddy
I'm not
Hackett.
fancying myself Katharine Hepburn here. I've got purple hair and a leopard coat on, and you're like you're sporty spice. So nothing about
Sporty
us physically
Spice.
says that this is a match, but I am convinced, Adam, that you and I are supposed to be cinematic soulmates. And we did The Wedding Singer together. And then I think it was like 10 or 11 years later, I found out the script went to him. I ran into my trailer. We were filming Charlie's Angels on the Sony lot. Happy Madison was on the Sony lot. And instead of running over to his office, I thought, I'm going to type out a letter for him. So I got on my Olivetti typewriter and I typed out this letter to him, hysterically sobbing. And this, I think, the power of a letter. I've had multiple things happen that have changed my life for the better, or in palpable, powerful ways through a letter.
Yeah.
Don't deny the power of a letter. And I said, I know we've talked about maybe coming back together. We set ourselves up real well in the first one, which kind of fucks us up for the second one, because the expectations are going to be really high for both of us. And we can't do something that is less than. We have to do something equal, or maybe even more than. And I am convinced that this is the movie. And I had someone run the letter over to his office. He showed up at my trailer. Barrymore.
Knocked on the door. What are you trying to do? We love
He's
Adam.
like, why do you like this movie? We're trying to make it into a comedy. And I said, oh my God, really? And he goes, yeah. And I go, but okay, interesting. Well, damn it, you cannot lose what is so fucking important about this movie, which is, how do you make someone fall in love with you every day? And the poetry, like, as a woman, I've never been more fucking moved in my life. You can't wash that away with goofiness. And he was like, yeah, but we know comedy and we know what guys want. And I said, and you know what? I know what girls want. And he goes, well, then obviously you've got to produce it with me. And I said, well, obviously we've got to make this movie together. And he was like, so it's happening. And I'm like, is it happening? Really?
Wow.
And
what a great story. I love it.
Fun.
We went to work right away, and we got Flower Films, which was me and Nan, and Happy Madison, which was him and the boys. And we sat there and we rewrote the movie based on what we thought went, like what we were all looking
Women's side,
for.
yeah.
Women's side, boys' side.
Yeah.
And this was in the day where, as a producer early on, I was told, men make the decisions about where to go to the movie that weekend, and the girlfriend will go with them. And that's a gender stereotype that I just thought, oh God, that's crazy. All right. Well, I don't know what to do with that information, but thank you for telling me that. And we tried to make it this balanced seesaw. And I we met with directors, and it was in Pete Siegel, who, you know, I always think I got lucky and had a knack for seeing things in directors that they hadn't had in their work before. And with Pete Siegel, I knew he was the guy. I knew he got the tone. And this was going to be such a challenge to straddle like whale sperm flying in faces 1 minute and trying to connect with the human heart and move people in the next scene. And I was like, this is going to take a very unique conductor to pull this all up and make everybody happy. And I knew that Pete could do it because of our conversations. I knew he got it. And
Pete did another big comedy, Drew.
What?
Tommy Boy.
Oh, he was your director 10 years before, which is another really, really great film.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Look at your face.
My God.
Oh, my God.
I didn't even realize that. That is a fucking masterpiece.
Can you believe? I was saying, when you just said Pete Siegel, I go, you got the right guy.
Oh my God, Tommy Boy. I mean, that's an iconic movie, David. Iconic. Like history books.
Well,
it's true.
I love Tommy Boy, and I'm thinking for you guys to balance that, the team of you, Sandler, and Pete, and then you throw Rob Schneider in a coconut bra or whatever he did.
Oh my God. Ula, the best.
No, stop it.
That's a real guy he was based on. A place we stayed in Hawaii.
Schneider does these great, funny characters. But it's interesting, Drew, you say that the bones of it was a drama, because that's still, whatever you guys did.
It's kind of what it is.
It resonated by the third actor when he's on the boat, he sees you again. It got me verklempt. I mean, I took the ride with it, and that's hard to do in a comedy.
It's very hard to do. It was my life, and very much with the show that, again, I am lucky enough to make, and we fight so hard for it over here. We have the best time making it, but making a show in broadcast daytime in this time is really challenging, and we're trying to find new ways to reinvent it. But I want to be greedy in life and have all the tones. I think we have all the feels, and therefore there are all the tones, and there are all the life experiences, and no journey is devoid of tragedy and laughter and love and heartbreak and death and loss and ecstasy and sex and, maybe and children, if you choose to go that route, and, relationship. It's all the things. And so I don't it's music, and it's visuals and cinema, like it's books, it's everything. It's everything. And I want so badly to put everything in a blender. But then I think the trick is you still have to make it your own. You have to be you. But I love all the tones, and I 50 First Dates is definitely a fun tonal example that you can kind of have it all and
really
do it all.
Well done, really well put together.
But I'm aiming for that for everything in my life. Can it like maybe the North Stars can be simplified down to heart and humor?
Maybe you're like Paris. Ernest Hemingway called it a movable feast.
Oh, of course. That's a beautiful book.
That phrase is just sort of encompasses kind of what you were saying. The majesty and the symphony of life, and all, slings and arrows and ups and downs, and all better philosophers than me have spoke to. But to live is to suffer and have joy every day. And we had a joy today visiting with you.
We did. We got to let Drew
I was
go.
a talk show host in a previous life.
Quoting Hemingway perfectly. It is such I was so excited to do this with you guys. I thank you for choosing me. Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled.
Thank you for everything that you've done. I just love and admire you. And I'm
well, you've brought an energy and a different point of view, and you're so far sort of an outlier. It was really great to get you on our podcast and hear you speak to all this stuff. Really interesting.
God.
Great.
Thank Thank you. Said by, oh God, it's, And by the way, I will be on the teat forever of laughter. So please keep giving it to everyone. And I'm glad you guys are doing this. Thank you for having me to the party.
Hey, what's up, flies? What's up, fleas? What's up, people that listen? We want to hear from you and your dumb questions.
Questions, ask us anything. Anything you want.
You can email us at flyonthewall@cadence13.com. Okay, Andrew Brewer. Now, this is a great one because Andrew Brewer is, it says, hey, it's Brewer, your old censor from the SNL days. Now, Dana, we've talked about him because we always say something nice about him. He was a cool dude and he was fun and he had a tough job.
You would write a script and then if it was a little risque, you'd have to run it by Andrew. And so you would load it up. Like it would be like hard XXX.
Yeah.
So that he could negotiate. He'd take, well, I'm going to take this out and this out. I mean, you couldn't swear, but you could negotiate.
Yeah, so if you put two in there you didn't care about, you would give him those, and then you still have your real script. But he kind of caught on to that one.
I think he knew the whole game.
But it says, do you boys, this is his question, do you boys recall any run-ins we had while we were all on the show? Of course. He has ideas. Dana, I'll ask it for him. The one that comes to mind is that taped black and white Wayne's World piece that you did with Mike, Madonna, and you were in a hotel room. It was full S&M. I remember that. Very steamy in the day. We spent a lot of time in the editing room.
Yeah.
And the nude beach sketch, which almost got him fired.
I had a unitard on as Garth and a cod piece.
I remember that
one.
Strutting
around on scuttering.
That was a big deal.
Madonna was like touching herself. I don't know why
Who shot that? Schiller?
Probably. It was cool. It was really fun to.
That was a good bit.
Yeah, it was really funny. But yeah, it was a little risque in those days.
Yeah, and I did Hollywood Minute with him, and he said, one of the ones I remember he told you not to do, but I did it anyway. Was a joke that was something like, Pam Anderson found Tommy Lee's new penis tattoo hard to swallow.
That's a good classic.
And he said he
joke.
took it out for the West Coast feed before it got to the West Coast. Oh my God.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, the one that took like a year to get on, and I'm not sure who wrote it, maybe Smigel, but it was just guys at a nudist beach, but so when we finally did it with Tom Hanks, we all just had whatever diapers on. We're behind a slap. You see our legs and you see our torsos.
Yeah, you don't
like
see
we're nude at a beach.
Wiener part.
And we're just commenting about each other's, hey, nice penis. How's that? How's the penis going? Hey, Ray, terrific penis. And we say penis like 300 times.
Yeah.
So, but the time Andrew got through with it, it was down to $1.99.
Yeah, he goes, I slashed it.
He slashed
Look,
it.
he says, I always apologize afterwards. Me. He said, Spade, I'll give you this. You always apologize afterwards. Well, that means I just didn't do what he said and then asked, what is it called? Don't ask permission, ask. Yeah, ask for forgiveness.
Well, I don't know if he was there when we did that Italian sketch where I had Victoria on the table.
Oh, that was a great one.
That was I wasn't supposed to do that move. You look it up, everybody.
He was there when I said pussy on Update, but he told me I have to say pussy. And Dennis goes, Spudley, you better fucking nail this one. You're going to get shit canned. So right before we go on live. And then I go, I'm going to go out after the show and get some pussy. And then they laugh and he goes, you're fucking gone, Spudley. Because they laughed too hard. He goes,
Dennis had a little cracker. You're out of here, man. You swallowed the word, you know.
Fucked up guy, you're out.
Jesus, go to Sleepy's, get a new mattress, okay?
You like Sleepy's.
I know.
Andrew, thank you, bud. Yeah, Andrew was very cool.
On a personal note, this is just really interesting because you always wonder where people end up. People behind the scenes, or he worked as a censor, but he writes to us here, which sounds so awesome. I'm currently kicking back and living in Barcelona, drinking cheap red wine and attending Spanish school.
I love it.
Come visit your old pally censor, XO Andrew. So I would just say you're the champion of life. You beat life. Anyone who's drinking cheap wine in Barcelona and kicking back is the champion of life. Maybe I got an Emmy on Saturday Night Live, but you're the real Emmy winner, Andrew.
Yeah, you're stuffed in my basement doing reading questions. I think he won that round.
Yeah, we're still dancing and sweating for our nickel, man. We don't have time to drink wine or go to Barcelona or nothing.
Pennies.
We're sad. We're puffy little clowns. We need attention. We'll never quit. Never stop.
We're puffy?
Puffy little clowns. Ruddy face, puffy little clowns. I flush a lot now that I'm over 50 for no apparent reason.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Please write again. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13.
Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes.
Executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment. Production and engineering led by Greg Holtzman, Richard Cook, Sabrina Regan, and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.